Nice to be together for smachot, for happy occasions, and to be together before our community travels back to Israel. And as we prepare for Purim in just a week, we think about both the intensity of the world around us, but also how we can bring moments of simcha and make sure that we have those. So I'll start with a pretty simple question. What time is it? No one knows what time it is because you all put away your phones and you don't have any watches, so you only know. I have 11, 16, or 17. So get comfortable. I have a lot of time. Just going to use it. I actually have 4 devices. I have this digital clock, I have my watch, I have my Fitbit, and I have the clock there, always trying to keep me on time. What other times are there that we might find ourselves in right now? A different kind of time. Yeah, what do you got? It's 2024, so we have a yearly cycle of time. Excellent. Some other pieces of time? Yeah, Michael. It's Shabbat. That's a big one, concluding the week each week. Shabbat, Buzz? Leap year. It's a leap year. Okay, both on the Jewish and on the American English calendar. Yeah, what else we got, Jonah? Time to put away electronics. Excellent. I appreciate the emphasis on that. Yeah, please. It's March 16th. Excellent. So a day after March 15th. 2 days after Pi Day. Yeah, Sharon. What? Spring break. It's spring break. At least for Aviva it is. For some people it's next week, I think, Evan, right? And for my son it was last week. I don't know why everyone can't get that together. Yeah, please, a final one.
March Madness.
March Madness, yeah.
For me, and I think a lot of other people, especially in Israel, it's a time of transition.
Time of transition. Nice. So I wanted to point out that there are personal times and there are communal times. There are times that we all know about, right? We said it was March 16th, 2024. We know it's the 2nd of Adar, the 6th day of the 2nd month of Adar, 5,784 in the Jewish counting of the year. For me and the other members of my group, it's the day before we're going to Israel. On the fun side, it's a week before spring formally begins, although I felt a little touch of it nicely this morning. And for me also, I'm very excited that it's 2 weeks before opening day, so that's good. And in case I forgot, today is Brooke's bat mitzvah, so let's not forget that. I almost forgot. This week I attended a wonderful lecture by Dr. Dalia Marks, who is a rabbi and scholar in Israel, and she just had her really great book called From Time to Time, Journeys in the Jewish Calendar, and she had it translated into the English from Hebrew. And she reminded the attendees at the lecture that there's 2 kinds of time. There is the time that functions in a circle, and then there's linear time. So what's a circular time would be a lot of the things we just talked about. The week, the year, the month, right? All of these things that renew themselves, the seasons, and we kind of go around and around them. But then there's also other kinds of time. A linear time where something starts and then it comes to an end. On the circular time, we can think about all of these cycles in nature. Look up at the moon, you'll see the different phases. These are things that happen in nature and occur all the time. If you think about, there are many of these. Now, the linear time, think about the universe, right? Begins at the Big Bang, at creation, and the Torah actually opens with this, right? It commences with universal time. And we know from science that in billions of years, the universe will actually come to an end. And just in case you're thinking about it, it won't be pretty. But none of you need to worry about it because none of us will be around. But in any case, we've got enough other problems to worry about anyway, so we'll forget that one. Now, for the Jewish people, when does time begin? It begins at a very specific moment when the Jewish people are born. You might think it goes back to Abraham, but actually it goes to the moment of the Exodus. The Jewish people are born at the Exodus, and we're given a specific commandment. The first commandment the Jewish people are given is about time. It's about time. It says, "B'chodesh hazeh lachem roshei chodashim." This month shall be for you the first of months. And we're actually given a holiday. Rosh Chodesh, the new month, happens on the first day of each and every month. So we're given a moment that helps us set up the calendar of moments, right? Because Rosh Chodesh not only is a holiday in itself, but it then helps us determine when the Chagim happen, when the holidays are going to occur. And this was really important in a world where you didn't have ways of communicating, right? If you knew when Rosh Chodesh was, you knew then when the holiday would fall in the 15th of the month. And so the whole Jewish community could observe at the same time. The basic message, though, of all of this is that time in Judaism is essential. And I would argue, of course, for all human beings. When I met with the Karen family earlier this week, Jeff said it really well. Time is the most valuable commodity that we have. We can never get it back. Now, of course, there is also sacred space. And in this week's Torah reading, we complete the building of the Mishkan, this portable sanctuary in the wilderness, this amazing sacred space, a forerunner of the Beit HaMikdash, of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And it's, of course, a reminder that places also need holiness. And I think, as Brooke explained, right, clothing, spaces also help us get into the right frame of mind for an experience. Now, it's interesting, though, what the Parashah says. Even as they're dedicating this holy place, what does the text says? Bayom hachodesh harishon be'echad lachodesh takim et hamishkan ol moed. On the first day of the first month, which in the biblical counting is Nisan, coming up in a few weeks, that's when you shall set up the Mishkan, the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, this gathering place for the people. And so what we learn is that we're basically a year after the Exodus. The people have been to Sinai, and now they're ready to complete the process of creating a unique building that they will be a part of together. Now, it's dedicated on the 8th day of a celebration, an 8-day celebration, and the 8th day is the one when this happens on the first day of the month. The Torah is reminding us that even when we are thinking about sacred space, we place it in a certain moment in time. It's reminding us also to set aside those times for sacred moments. Now, there's good examples of this. This morning, we were filled with sacred moments, from throwing the candy to reading Haftarah, reading the Torah, right? Our prayers, all of these are kind of moments that Judaism is saying time is actually preferable over space. The Torah's innovation was to say that time comes in a different way, more importantly than space. In ancient traditions and civilizations, it was all about the space. It wasn't that Judaism negated that, but it shifted the priority. That's why Shabbat is everywhere in the Torah. It's telling us to pause once every 7 days, and it tells us over and over again, amidst last week's reading, when we're building the Mishkan, again with Shabbat. That's the anchor that has served as the bedrock for the Jewish people. And I'd say it has expanded to the world, as other traditions and civilizations also have a Shabbat, a day of rest, a change in their work pattern. And this has become a blessing to humanity. I always love to quote from Abraham Joshua Heschel, the great 20th century rabbi and philosopher. He writes famously, and I want you to hear the quote. I'm sure many of you know it, but the end is really interesting. He says, Judaism is a religion of time, aiming at the sanctification of time. Judaism teaches us to be attached to holiness in time, to be attached to sacred events, to learn how to consecrate sanctuaries that emerge from the magnificent stream of a year. He always writes so beautifully. He then says, the Sabbaths are our great cathedrals. Our Holy of Holies is a shrine that neither the Romans nor the Germans were able to burn. A shrine that even apostasy cannot easily obliterate. Now, the Jewish people have survived thousands of years because we are a civilization not locked in to one place. It's not that we don't have a special place. We have Jerusalem. But each time the temple was destroyed, which already happened twice in Jewish history, it wasn't the end. Judaism is portable, and what could have been the end of the Jewish people is not. Right? Our practices continue. We shift from sacrifice to prayer. Right? Think of the Seder. It can be done in your home, wherever you are. Shabbat, keeping kosher, acts of kindness, study. Wherever you are, you can have those moments, all portable, anchored in time, not in space. So today, as we completed the last Torah portion in the book of Exodus and completing that cycle, I want to just mention this interplay, this interaction between sacred space and sacred time. And the great contemporary scholar Aviva Zornberg writes in a really beautiful book, The Particulars of Rapture, Reflections on Exodus, that all of these Torah readings we've been reading these last few weeks, talking about building a sacred space, that all of them present, quote, the realities of Shabbat and Mishkan, of a condition in which fire is the medium, the conduit, the tool, the basic element of the Mishkan. And she reminds us that it cannot be kindled. You can't light a fire on Shabbat. Perhaps, she says, we may now say that these two modalities represent two ways of living in time. Fire represents the urgency of productive time, right? You're cooking, you're making something, you're heating. Live for its objective creations, for the forms of self-knowledge that devolve from the inner heat. The work of the Mishkan, she says, then stands as the testimony to the creative power of people, to the many ways of relating to the world and transforming it, in which fire is essential. But then she says the following: this work at its core is a manifestation not of the kinds of objects in space that are created, but a way of using time. Right? Time with the fire can become productive, purposeful, right? And sometimes even and often ruthless. And then on the other side, there is this Shabbat, right? You shall kindle no fire within all of your settlements on the Shabbat day, as we read. Shabbat is virtually defined as non-fire. That is, as time not used, unproductive, the shadow opposite of the building of the Mishkan. So what is Zornberg teaching us? She's saying that perhaps the best use of time is not generative, but reflective. Shabbat removes us from building spaces, from creating anything, and allows us a different experience of time, which, of course, in the grand scheme of things, much more important. That's a really interesting move that Judaism does. While there is natural time, the cycles of the month, the year, humans are given a role in the process of time. We are the ones, a court, a Beit Din, that declares that it is Rosh Chodesh, the new month. And thus we declare that we are entering into holy time. While Shabbat begins 18 minutes before sunset, a natural moment which you can see, we are partners with God in its sanctification. We light the candles for Shabbat. We lift up the cup of wine and sanctify time by making Kiddush. We declare now, right here, holy, magical time. we have a role in declaring that we are going to experience this moment differently. The Torah teaches us that we are the ones. Now, it also teaches us something that's hard, that you can also stop. You don't have to keep moving and talking and doing things. The Torah says you can't stop time, but you can pause from our process of creation and create this time, Shabbat, a reflective time. With great effort, we can appreciate our most precious commodity. And I'll end by speaking for myself. I often don't control my time. Things happen, and I'm called upon. I feel for me it's a great privilege, but of course it also takes time. Sometimes then I don't pause. It's not easy for me to structure my time differently and to make time for, in essence, nothing. For simply being, enjoying that which has been created. Maybe this can be a lesson for all of us. While time marches on, we can try to determine how to give ourselves the greatest gift. Shabbat Shalom.